This episode features Outdoor Afro founder Rue Mapp. Welcome to Wild Ideas Worth Living, an adventure podcast presented by REI Co-op, the brand who helps get you outside through gear, classes, and adventures. We talk to experts who have taken a wild idea and made it a reality so you can too. From people who have climbed the tallest peaks, started thriving businesses, and even broken records, some of the wildest ideas can lead to the most rewarding adventures. I'm your host, Shelby Stanger, and I hope you enjoy this show. Some of you may have heard of Rue Mapp and Outdoor Afro. If not, you're in for a treat. Rue started Outdoor Afro as a blog in 2009, and she's grown it to become the nation's leading nonprofit network that celebrates and inspires African American connections and leadership in nature. The nonprofit has nearly 80 leaders in 30 states from around the country, and they've connected thousands of people to outdoor experiences who are changing the face of conservation and the face of who plays outdoors. Rue herself is a force of nature. The mom of 3 is also an activist, a nature lover. She's been invited to the White House to participate in huge conferences like America's Great Outdoors Conference. She was part of a think tank for Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative. She's on the Outdoor Industry Association board. And in 2014, she was appointed to the California State Parks Commission by California Governor Jerry Brown. Her work and op-eds have been featured everywhere from the Wall Street Journal and NPR to Sunset and Ebony Magazines. What I like most about Rue in my quick hour of meeting her, though, is this woman's got woo. She has this ability to connect and empower communities from across cultures and barriers, get them together, and she's just real. And she has this amazing way of speaking, which is probably why she gets asked to speak all over the country. So diversity in the outdoors is a hot topic, and it definitely was at the Outdoor Retailer Show where we did this interview. So in this episode, we talk about diversity in the outdoors and who's doing it well. You might be surprised at her answer. We also talk about how nature doesn't discriminate no matter who you are, how she grew a huge community. So if you're looking to grow a community, this is a great episode. And we talk about the power of relationships and how to make your wild idea a reality. Enjoy. All right, welcome to Wild Ideas Worth Living. Real excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you are just a ball of energy. Rue's got these beautiful orange earrings. I mean, she just looks so fabulous. So I just want to start. A lot of people listening don't know what Outdoor Afro is. It's an awesome name. And the logo is really cool. Can you just tell us a little bit about what it is and when it started?
Sure. Outdoor Afro started off as a blog, a passion project back in 2009 when I just decided that I wanted to experience more people who look like me in the outdoors and talk about like why I love the outdoors and just being sick of being the only one on backpacking trips and camping trips when I joined with various clubs over the years. And I wanted more people to experience the benefits of the outdoors and the joy of the outdoors. And because we weren't in the backpacker magazines of the world, right? We just I didn't see people who looked like me. And I started this blog and something really miraculous happened. People from all over the country, and this is really at the dawn of social media as well. They like raised their digital hands and said, me too, I love nature too. And I realized that we had a visual representation problem. And when you put all the people who thought they were the only ones together, we were actually quite numerous. So it evolved from this blog to a community, and now we are a national not-for-profit network that has 80 people who we've trained in 30 states who are leading and curating these fabulous outdoor experiences every single weekend around the country. And the network is now about 35,000 people. And their lives have been transformed in ways I could have never imagined.
Like, give me some examples.
Well, we've got the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, who are Outdoor Afro leaders. We've got people who are human rights attorneys, architects, real estate professionals, grandparents, military vets, preschool teachers, all of these people who never really saw themselves as outdoor leaders, right? They didn't, take a month-long experiential course. They, are not like the typical bros you see in the mainstream magazine. These are the folks who, have this fire in their belly to connect people to nature. And we just give them a little push and a little support, some gear, some risk management practices, and they're off.
And they take others hiking.
All kinds of activities. So anything from like orchard fruit picking to backcountry backpacking to family picnics to car camping, whitewater rafting, you name it.
Can we do surfing?
Everything.
Awesome.
And the thing that's so cool is we weave conservation ethic into everything that we do. And so it's not just, and history. So it's not that we're just going out there traipsing. We're looking at the history of people, the history of wildlife, of the geology. And so people are getting this really well-rounded education at the same time they're getting their best life in nature.
So we just went from like this wild idea and you started a blog and now it's huge. And
Yeah.
You've been to like the White House and there's people that have climbed Kilimanjaro on behalf of Outdoor Afro. Like, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, I got this random email one day back in 2010 that said the White House cordially invites you. And I'm thinking, cordially invites you to weigh in on healthcare or make a donation. This is like, the Obama social media,
From
presence.
your blog or your social media?
Yeah. So someone in the Department of Interior had found me online and said that I had to be at this conference that was all about America's great outdoors and bringing professionals from around the country, leaders of industry from around the country to talk about how the outdoors could be more relevant. So little old me from my kitchen table blogging was suddenly at the White House to witness President Obama signing a historic memorandum. And then fast forward to today, we have with these capstone trips that the leaders decide they want to do every year. And we've done Mount Whitney, we've done the AT, and this year they just decided to go all in and go to Tanzania, and they trained for like a year.
For Kilimanjaro.
For Kilimanjaro. And they just came back, and I'm so thrilled here at the Outdoor Retail Show. We've got a few of the climbers who successfully summited here to tell their story. And we had so much support from our partners to make that happen. And that story just keeps unfolding, So we had, major mainstream pickup
ABC
of it.
News.
Yeah, ABC News picked that up. And it's just felt really good to be able to, these are people who did not envision themselves as mountaineers, right? And climbing, the largest freestanding mountain, is like,
what do these people look like? Since this is a podcast, people aren't able to see. Just maybe describe like what are these people? Who are they?
These are people who range in age from 25 to 60 plus, right? So there's like an AARP story in there.
Awesome.
There's a military veteran in that. There's an advocate for diversity in the outdoors in that. These are people who, of course, are in relative good shape, but they're not like going to the Olympics anytime soon, right? They had to put in the work to prepare themselves. And it doesn't even matter when you're on, a mountain, altitude will strike anyone, no matter what their physical condition is.
Or no matter what their color is.
And no matter what their color is, right?
Yeah.
And these are all African Americans. And the thing that was so cool about this was not like something that a white organization said, hey, we're going to do this like PR stunt and send these Black people on this mountain. This is like from the office to the climbers to the porters to the instructors, all Black.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
blackity, black.
You guys have to meet Rue. She is a force of nature. I love it.
And it was just, and I say that.
Blackity black. I just feel like I love that you have a sense of humor and you're so inclusive in how you approach this topic right now.
Yeah, well, I just think that sometimes the specific is universal. So I think people get annoyed and offended when we're talking in these really general, like collegial, feathery touch, style of describing people and walking on eggshells and and I just feel like it's okay to call things out and be specific, because just because you're focused doesn't mean that you're exclusive, and I feel like if I call out the patch in the quilt that we are, right, it doesn't make any of the other patches that we're connected to less. They're different, right? And we are all connected. We're connected to land. We're connected to our history. We're connected to one another, and that's been a huge part of why this work has become so important to me, and I feel to the world, because we now need connection more than ever. And when you go to nature, the trees do not know you're Black. The birds do not know how much money is in your account. The flowers don't know what gender you are. And so it's like getting a break and a bit of a rest from the isms. And when you're out there with people, it doesn't matter what their hue is. You know, we are all human beings, right? So when I'm camping in the Arctic and a bear comes into camp, they don't care. The bear doesn't care. And this happened, actually. I was in the Arctic Refuge a couple years back, and we had a grizzly come into camp. And, you know, that was my hard reset on my humanity. I was like, oh, I am not at the top of the food chain. How I fold my socks at home does not matter in this moment, you know? And so I just feel like we spend so much time these days on differentiating ourselves and distancing ourselves. And, you know, nature has a way of bonding us together in the right way.
I love that. So when was your first experience in nature, like that you remember?
Oh my gosh, my whole life has been, I mean, you and I are from the generation of getting outside and playing every single day, right? Riding our bikes, can't wait to get outside, parents locking us out of the house to be outside, right? So getting into nature was not like a programmatic moment, right? Or someone, you know, rescued me from the hood and took me to the mountains and my life was changed. You know, that's not my story. But my family had a ranch in Lake County, and it was a place of wonder, of tranquility, of freedom and celebration. So we had people up all the time, and we were always like putting on these fun talent shows and going on hikes and riding our bikes and spending time in the creek, you know, collecting pollywogs and, you know, just super, you know, natural part of my childhood. And I did not know how special that was until I got older and realized that not everybody had that kind of a background. But we had cows and we had pigs, we hunted, we fished.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Oakland, California, but my parents had the second home, which was a ranch about 100 miles away. And so it was pretty much every other weekend and then, you know, longer stretches in the summertime when we would spend time in this place. So that really kind of set the tone for two things, connecting to nature and then hospitality in nature, you know? So like I was able to see how my parents welcomed people into that space and how adults and children that would remark on how quiet it was or the stars they could see or how fresh the air was. You know, like people, you know, who lived, you know, in very urban areas were able to come there and experience, you know, the kind of relief that brought them joy and gave them a recharge. So I kept that thread going, that thread of nature and hospitality as a Girl Scout. And then I was an Outward Bound student and just continue to scaffold over time and build this relationship to nature. And that's how Outdoor Afro, you know, came to be. It came to be out of that passion for nature, that passion for community. And it's transforming people's lives.
So I just want to understand, like, you manage so many people. You're so in demand right now. Like, what are some of the tools and tactics you use to stay sane? Because I think a lot of people right now go to you as like, okay, we need diversity in the outdoors. Let's go to Rue.
Yeah. It's a pretty interesting time. It's like the buzzword of
is it annoying
of
or
our moment. Well, you know, it's not my thing, right?
Yep.
And it's not. And I had to make that decision pretty early in Outdoor Afro's development as an organization. Are we here to help solve this problem, or are we here to get Black people outside? And that was a really important and defining moment for our work, because Outdoor Afro's never had a diversity problem, right?
Yep.
And people see the outcome of Outdoor Afro and naturally want to have similar outcomes. But, you know, for me, it all boils down to be, do, have, right? It's not, I can't give you the 1, 2, 3 steps to be just like Outdoor Afro or to be just like, you know, any number of organizations. If you be diverse, right? If you be of the community, if you live in that community. And I feel like change only happens at the speed of relationships, you know, and I feel like this world has been so oriented around transactional and optical relationships that, you know, we now find ourselves looking, you know, not like America, right? Because we have not taken the time to get to know people and to ask people what they want. And the only way that Outdoor Afro has grown is because we have been just super high touch with our community, like listening on the ground, making, like when people said to me back in the blog days, hey, it's great that we have this blog. It's wonderful to have all this great visual representation, but I want to find my tribe where I live. And that's when the Outdoor Afro leadership team was built. And that was like 11 people who said yes, like from a call on social media, if they could be an Outdoor Afro leader. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I just wanted to download everything that I had learned into this group of people and pull our partners together. We had REI on board from the very beginning. I mean, and I'm just like literally in like the parking lot of the job I had, just, pitching this idea.
What were you doing?
I was, at the time, I was working as a program officer for a foundation that was getting money into the field to help youth get outdoors.
So you had a really good background for this.
Yeah, well, it was great to actually have this survey perspective, like to see so many different programs, to read about these programs, to see what their budgets looked like, and be able to see where the gaps and opportunities were for Outdoor Afro, and really from the start, like see how how you could be more authentic in this work. And so that experience did give me more of a razor focus on how to execute in this work. So I was like talking to partners, like literally back of a cocktail napkin, plotting out this idea of Outdoor Afro leaders, and partners like REI, who is now our official outdoor retailer for Outdoor Afro, Keen Shoes, who has just slayed it for us around gear and equipment, and and they do some really great work around advocacy and public lands that for us has become more important too, because we want the places to stay around.
Yeah, you want to be able to pass it on to your kids, your grandkids.
Exactly. So like our partners have been phenomenal in helping us to like use our voice, and as well as, provide the financial and mentorship, so those partners came on early and really helped to inform and shape what we now have today as the Outdoor Afro leadership team. And as I mentioned, they've grown to 80 people. And those 80 people, are in 30 states. And I have a team now. I actually manage a team that oversees the partnerships as well as the program. And now I'm freed up to have conversations like this.
That's great.
And as well as, think about the strategy and vision of the organization.
Do you have any tools and tactics, like management style, that really helped you?
I mean, again, it's about having relationships with people and being able to have fun. Like people, I hold our work to a very high standard of excellence and professionalism, while at the same time holding a lot of humor and a lot of recognition of great work. We're not for profit, but I take the time to honor our Outdoor Afro Leader of the Year, our Partner of the Year, and I just feel like, people just want to be heard, and people want to be recognized, and it's not a manipulative move, but it comes from a very genuine place, and what we get back is so much more than what we invest when we get that relationship piece right.
So what I heard you say is you give a lot.
Yes,
and in turn you end up getting a lot.
I give back more than I give. Like people are like, oh my God, Rue, you're just so crazy busy. And I'm like, no, there's nothing crazy here. And I don't use the B word. Everything is in choice. Like I choose everything. I chose to be with you today. I chose it. And so in that way, and Outdoor Afro gives me back way more than I put out, because I'm choosing everything and I'm not being drug along by my hair across, the stage in order to perform. So.
I love just two things. One, that you don't use the B word in that context. I think that's beautiful. I try not to say I'm busy. It's just the worst.
But think about when people say, "Oh my God, I'm so busy," and it's like a wall.
Yep, it's a wall.
It's like, okay, I'm so busy, and like everybody's busy. Everybody's got stuff to do. And it's all relative, right?
But the other thing you do is you use humor to break down walls, which I feel like we're in this time. I was just talking to two guys downstairs, and they're afraid to say the word "find your tribe," or they said accidentally, "That's so ghetto," and they didn't say it in a mean context, but they're terrified to even talk to a girl, or they were terrified to give me a hug. They like went and tried to shake my hand. I'm like, dude, I don't do that. Like, I give hugs. How can we use humor as well to just become closer together?
Well, I think we've had so much divisiveness, and social media, unfortunately, has been a big part of this. And we're like, you're so right in that, we have lost our humor. We have lost our ability to enjoy each other, right? And learn from each other. And it's this is the Me Too time. This is the, people are losing their careers behind, saying things, doing things, and, and sometimes completely justified, and I feel like we do have to not give up everything behind these very public cases where people have definitely acted badly. And that's why nature for me is so important, because it really gives us this break to be human and not worry so much about all of the isms and all of the stigmas. I mean, it's just this great equalizing platform. And we now, in addition to the relationships, we need joy. And that's why, Outdoor Afro, we've said that we're doubling down on Black joy. We have seen so many police-involved shootings over these last few years on social media, and it just can crush your spirit and make us suspicious of our neighbor, of law enforcement as a whole even. And so one of the things that Outdoor Afro did in response to that was healing hikes. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to take to the streets on this one. I'm going to take to nature. And I called our network of people who were local to me in Oakland. And we went into the Oakland Hills and we, did some yoga and intention setting exercises. And as we were going down into that Redwood Bowl, there's this stream trail that we were going along together. And as we were going on this trail, I could just feel like all the stress just like melting off of people. And we were listening to each other and we were expressing our diverse opinions about what was happening in the world. And I knew that was not ever going to be possible in the hard landscapes, of a downtown Oakland at that time, with helicopters overhead and police in riot gear. And then the epiphany I had out of that experience was really powerful in that, we were doing what African Americans have always known we could do, and that was to lay down our burdens down by the riverside. And that, to me, was the moment that I realized the healing potential of the work of Outdoor Afro. And that's what my drumbeat has been. And it has been a tool to help me find connection with people, to help them feel safe to be themselves. Because it's not just a group of Black people. It's like a lot of diversity within the diversity. It's so like, it's nuanced, right? And I feel like we've lost not only that way to connect with people in an easy way, but there's so much more, I feel, nuance that we need to place our attention on these days more than ever before.
What do you mean by that?
Well, things are just not black and white all the time.
Yes. Okay. I understand.
Just because you say, I'm going to go find my tribe, does that mean you are a what? It just means you said that. We are quick to put meaning and definition, hard angles on things all the time. And so I'm trying to free myself and free our organization up to be gentle in this world with ourselves and with one another.
Oh, I love that. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we talk about this amazing tattoo Rue has, what it means, her life, how to get over self-doubt of your wild idea and make it happen. So stay tuned. Remember zines like the old school punk rock zines? Well, REI recently made a beautiful zine called Force of Nature. It's a collection of art and stories celebrating fearless women. There's 44 different artists and writers who talk about how they define the outside and what it means to them. Inside, there's incredible art, graffiti, photography, and illustrations, including some by one of my new favorite artists, Lovis Wise. She's the 23-year-old artist whose work you might have recently seen on the cover of The New Yorker. The whole zine is awesome. You can check it out at rei.com/force of nature. That's rei.com/force of nature. So we talked a little bit earlier about who is doing it well. Who is doing, there's this diversity tagline, buzzword that's going around. And I think the outdoor industry is really trying hard to do it. And some people are really confused. Some are doing it okay. Some are not doing it well. But I think at least they're talking about it. In the mainstream, though, what brands are doing this well?
Yeah, you really want to know?
Yeah, I really want to know, even though it's probably going to be brands right, okay,
let's go. All right. No endorsement meant here, but Coca-Cola is doing it well.
Yeah, they sponsored my college.
McDonald's is doing it well.
Yeah.
They have, since I was a child, they have, and if you want to see examples of
Coca-Cola's in Atlanta. That's a pretty progressive town.
Right.
And they've always been pretty sensitive to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch all you have to do, and I would love people in the industry, outdoor industry, to do this, watch some Black programming sometimes and see who places commercials in those shows. And see how the tone, the tenor, the actors, see how that's put together, for a very specific demographic and to appeal to a very specific demographic within, the viewership of these shows, right? But you're going to consistently, and I have throughout my whole life, I've consistently seen McDonald's commercials, Coca-Cola commercials with Black people in them, doing blackety black things, okay? And it's not appropriation. It's like, oh, I see myself using that brand. That brand understands my culture. That brand understands, the things that I value. And, boy, does that, burger look tasty, and I'm going to get one next time I drive past, McDonald's, whatever. I mean, it's like, they have found a very seamless way that they're not like, I know they're not having diversity and inclusion, questions. They're not, I don't think it's a matter of if, it's how. And I think that's where the industry needs to wind up. It needs to be at the how and not like, oh, should we not? And again, it really comes down to building those relationships with people who don't look like you. Because I find that in the industry, there's a couple things in play. There are people who work with the people that they play with, the people that they expedition with, the people who, and people move from company to company to company, right? And so there's this insularity where it's like you see the same people. People have been coming to the show. They see the same people for years and years. And they don't have, there's no new friends here. And I'm so glad to see that there are more folks who are learning about this industry who did not know, I didn't know this industry even existed. So it's not done as good of a job getting in front of people in a everyday and mainstream way, even though people are rocking the gear for style purposes, right? Like wearing a North Face jacket or a Patagonia jacket when you're in high school, that's that's a status symbol. It doesn't mean that you're going to get on a mountain ever. And so I feel like there's been some missed opportunities for some of the brands to cash in on their popularity on the ground and on the street that now is becoming more important for the sustainability of the business.
I'm looking at your tattoo right now.
Yeah.
Maybe just walk us through it. It's beautiful.
Well, it's my midlife tattoo, midlife crisis tattoo.
You're not midlife.
Yeah. I'm definitely in the third quarter.
What?
Yeah.
You look really good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It feels like it's just getting better. It's
Good.
Getting better. Like I have 3 kids. I have a 21-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And they're getting up and out. And I have a dog, I have a pit bull named Lulu. I've got a great man in my life. It's a good time,
So this tattoo.
Oh yeah, back to the tattoo.
Is the Outdoor Afro logo?
Well, yeah, it's the Outdoor Afro logo, and it's kind of my coming of age and really because I never got a tattoo before because I never quite knew why I was on the planet, and I didn't want any symbols that would not be relevant you know, 10 years later. So I never got any tattoos. And this symbolizes, you know, like all the parts of who I am. And Outdoor Afro, for me, allows me to be all the parts of who I am. It allows me to be a mother. It allows me to be, you know, a smarty pants, a public speaker, a writer, someone who loves nature, technology, building community. And so this is the tattoo, yes, is the logo, and I can describe that the logo is a silhouette of a gender-neutral person with an afro, and inside of it is the outline of a tree, and the tree resembles brain matter with the actual trunk could be representing like the cerebral cortex, you know, this kind of endless connection. And
awesome.
And it was designed for me by Jeremy Collins, who is a friend of everyone. And we had a logo that was super cute. It was like kind of a caricature of me, and it was for the blog. And we are Keen ambassadors together, and Keen does a great job of putting together the ambassadors for retreats and just giving us a chance to get to know each other and support each other's work. And so after learning about Outdoor Afro, he was like, dude, your logo it's fine, but it doesn't really represent like who you really are. And I was like, womp womp, you know, like, okay, like this is personal. Like, and then like almost a year later, he just came back with like something super close to what we see right now. And my jaw dropped. I was like, oh, hello, lover. Like, this is the shiznit. This is like, it's like everything, you know? And so we just did a slight revision, and we've been going with that, and everybody really likes it, and I like it, and it's, you know, it's suitable to be a tattoo because of all the reasons I described.
I like it. Jeremy. I'm going to hit you up to redesign Wild Ideas Worth Living next year. You know, if you could throw any party, Rue, we ask all our guests this, but I just want to know the party you'd throw, what we're eating, who's playing.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Well, I would bring my parents back. You know, my parents are no longer living, and you know, a huge part of this work for me is them continuing to live, you know, in my life through their values. So I would definitely bring them back. I would probably have you know, a salon style. You know, we'd have like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Langston Hughes, you know, like in a corner having a debate. I'd probably be sitting on the porch with Sojourner Truth, picking her brain on like marketing, because she was such an amazing marketer for her time. I mean, using photography to tell her story and raise money, you know, at the time when, you know, that technology was new, as social media was new to me. I'd have like Prince playing though.
This sounds like an epic party.
Yeah, and we would have like, you know, anything on the table from sushi to soul food, because that to me is, you know, that's my California. You know, that's you know, the diversity of taste that I have for food. And then I probably would like, you know, have Michelle Obama over, you know, just for like, you know, cocktails. You know, she just seems like she wouldn't sit still for a long time. She'd be on her way to something else. But I really feel like I could bring together like this whole legacy of African-American characters along with my closest friends and family. And maybe through conversation and music and food, you know, plot a better future.
I love it. Any books or gear that you recommend, like must-haves? Combine of both.
Wow. I think any reusable container for liquids is, you know, I like Clean Canteen, and that's my, you know, my jam. They're one of our partners, and they're the ones who educated me a lot on, you know, where plastic actually ends up. And it does not end up, you know, as a reusable something downstream. It actually ends up in the ocean in many cases, and shockingly so. So I am a big fan of reusable anything for liquids. For books, there's like a couple of books that I've enjoyed that really speak to kind of a way of living. So The Four Agreements is one that I love to share with people because it just gives you very simple, elegant principles to live your life in a way that's with the least amount of drama and with the most amount of joy. And there's another book that inspired me called By the River Piedra, I Sat Down and Wept by, Paulo Coelho.
Okay, Paulo Coelho.
Who also wrote The Alchemist. Yeah. And it's not like the whole book that I loved. It was this one passage on wasted life. And it really called me forth to make sure that I didn't give up on this dream of Outdoor Afro because it felt unsafe, because the money wasn't there. That there would be one day, if I was so lucky, that I would look back, because everybody looks back. And at the moment when you realize that miracles are possible, your magic moments will have passed you by.
Let's talk about this really quickly, because I think everybody here has a wild idea and they're listening and they want to do it, but there's some self-doubt and fear that hits everyone at some point. How do you deal with it, and what advice can you give others? That
time is going to pass anyway. A year is going to pass. 2 years is going to pass. 10 years, 20 years is going to pass anyway. But what you do in those increments of time is a choice. And we all have choice. And there are no guarantees, but we still have choices. You can have a job that feels really safe and secure. And I'm not saying that everybody, that has a wild hair idea needs to jump on it or doesn't need to do, their research, right? But I do know that at some point you do have to give yourself over to your dreams and give yourself completely over to them. And it is an act of faith. And I know that in my case, it was stepping out. And every time I stepped, the net did appear. And I didn't know that it would happen, but it did. And faith is like a muscle. The more you exercise that muscle of faith, the more tolerant you are of taking risks, taking chances. And so build your faith muscle. Don't be afraid of being your whole self. And realize that there are no guarantees, but you absolutely still have choices within every opportunity before you. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I can offer that, that's informed by what my experience has been.
This has been such a pleasure, Rue. Where can we find out more?
OutdoorAfro.com, Outdoor Afro across all social. I'd love to hear from everyone. I always say that you don't have to have an afro to be a part of Outdoor Afro. That, we are, we're focused.
I got a bit of a Jew afro, but it's all good.
A little bit. But, it's like, because we have so much diversity of our, like I said, we practice diversity in many ways too, of our partners, our friends, our allies, and so when you look at my board and all the people who are part of Outdoor Afro, we absolutely look like America. And I think, hopefully that's what we can work together to help the industry become as well.
Thank you, Rue. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Rue Mapp, thank you so much. I'm so glad we got that in less than 40 minutes. We literally met and then we almost got stuck in an elevator and recorded this right away. So that was pretty awesome. Thank you to the crew at Outdoor Retailer for the lovely podcast room to record this conversation and for making diversity in the outdoors something that was at the forefront of people's minds at the show. Thank you to REI for not only supporting this show, but for supporting groups like Outdoor Afro. Thank you to Jess Weinstein at Keen for the official introduction to Rue. Jess, you're the man. And to you for listening, thank you so much. I'm really wowed by your comments, your feedback, your direct messages, and your emails about how the show is affecting you. I've gotten a few just this week that said you quit your job after listening to the show and you're doing something awesome. So I really appreciate it. Please tell your friends, tell 10 if you like the show. And I really hope you don't feel stuck or scared and that you decide to pursue whatever wild idea will positively affect your life. One thing that Rue said that really struck me, besides that nature, or bears for that matter, really don't give a hoot what color, race, gender you are, is that she's doubling down on joy. And I think you should too. So with that being said, wherever you are in the world, don't forget, some of the best adventures happen when you follow your wildest ideas. I have to read you one more Apple Podcast review. This is from Jackie Flyers. Jackie, whoever you are, thank you so much. She said, the common thread among most guests is they took a chance, took a leap, and trusted it would work out. I have to say, hearing this from amazing adventurers has helped encourage me to take my own leap. I moved from the East Coast to Hawaii about a month ago, away from family and friends and everything that's been so familiar to me. I've been experiencing all kinds of ups and downs, new experiences, new adventures, and living outside my comfort zone. I'm excited to see where my new adventure takes me, and I'm glad I have Shelby and her guests to keep me company along the way. So Jackie, we're here for you wherever you are. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Next week, we have a guy who I think is going to get nominated to win Adventure of the Year, Tate McDowell. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.